good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kuan. We've got Albert right here at Air Adventure. For more information, airadventureflying.com. Okay, so he's going to take you around to do an external check. So Albert, take it away.
Alright, so we're doing external checks only, so we're not doing too much of what's in there. But for an external check, you would want to take away your chocks, put them inside the aircraft, make sure your parking brake is set before you do that. Remove your control lock so that your control surfaces are free and movable. Baggage door secure and locked. I'm going to move the elevator up and down. And Joel is going to give me a thumbs up when he sees that the control column is moving in the correct direction. So full up, full down, and same on the other side. And on this side, we have our trim tab. So make sure it's just secure. Don't push, but make sure it's secure. The rudder, just nicely move it slightly one side one side to the other. And Joel's going to give me a thumbs up again when he sees that the rudder pedals are moving in the right direction. Also look at your antennas to make sure that they look okay. You want to make sure that our flaps at full deflection is not moving anywhere. You also want to look at our ailerons. So I'm going to push it up and down, and I'm looking at the other side and to make sure that the aileron on the other side moves in the opposite direction to where I'm pushing. And also looking at the control column to make sure that it's moving in the direction in which I'm pushing. On the wingtip, we look at our lights, make sure they're in good condition. Red light on the port wing. Starboard wing, you have a green light. You want to look at your tire, just make sure it's inflated. Just drain some fuel and make sure that it's free from any impurities. So you look at it and make sure it's nice and clean. You climb onto the top of the fuselage. There are two stepping points, one on the strut, there's one place where you can hold as you get on. You get your fuel dipstick, open up the fuel, the fuel tap, and dip it in and see how much you have in there. We want to make sure that our windshield is free from any structural damage. Make sure it's clean. Our avionics vents, make sure they're clear. Make sure it's clear. Engine oil, you want it to be a minimum of 6 quarts. So you come in here, open the compartment, twist open your cap for the oil, and you pull it out and you make sure it's at a good level. Other thing that's in there that's important is your fuel strainer drain. So it says pull for 4 seconds. So what this does is that when you pull, some fuel gets released from the bottom and you look to see if it's clean. Now this is important because that point is the lowest point in the entire fuel system. So if there are any impurities, they will tend to settle there. So when you pull and you find any impurities, you want to keep draining it until it's clean. We want to make sure our prop and spinner are in good condition. We will look at our air intakes, all 3 air intakes, and then our alternator belt. Just make sure it's tight and actually connected to the drive, to the gears. Yeah, that's it for the nose. Actually make sure our nose wheel is in good condition. Make sure it's inflated. If you have chocks, remove them. If there's a tie down, remove it. Joel will once again go up there and check our fuel level. Once again, mind the 2 step points and the grab point.
Alright, so I just checked my fuel and both tanks are full, and from our POH we know that we burn 8 gallons an hour. So with full tank, we have 5 hours of endurance.
You also have to remove your pitot cover, and this is important as if you don't remove this, you won't get any airspeed indications. Also, I forgot to mention, one thing you should also note is your static source. Just make sure it's unobstructed because instruments also rely on a static pressure source. So yeah, just make sure those 2 sources are unobstructed and make sure there's nothing in there in the tube. Your fuel tank vent, just make sure it's unobstructed so that the fuel tanks can equalize with the pressure on the outside, with the air pressure on the outside. Check your lights, make sure it's good. One thing that you can do if you're tall enough is you can suck on the stall warning horn and it will give you a stall warning sound. And if you're not tall enough, just make sure it's clean, you know. The lights, red on port. Again, the aileron, same thing. Make sure the opposite aileron moves in the opposite direction, and make sure your control column is moving when you move the surface. Check the hinges, so push it up and then check that the hinges are in good condition. Fuel strain, so again, make sure it's good. It's nice and clean, which it is. Move away from the aircraft, take one last general look at it, make sure that nothing's missing or about to fall off, and you're fit to fly.
Alright, so that's our external check. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Albert and myself, Joel
Joel.
Kuan, just following around. But if you want to know more, at adventureflying.com.